Israel just gave Iran a 48-hour ultimatum to halt all uranium enrichment activity. That deadline expired 6 hours ago. Iran didn't respond. Iran didn't comply. Iran didn't even acknowledge the demand. And right now, as you watch this video, Israeli military commanders are sitting in an underground war room beneath the Kiryat military headquarters in Tel Aviv, deciding what happens at midnight. Here's what actually happened. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened an emergency session of the Israeli Security Cabinet on Tuesday morning. Intelligence chiefs from Mossad, Shin Bet, and Israeli military intelligence presented classified satellite imagery showing that Iran's Fordo nuclear facility, buried 260 FT inside a mountain near the city of Qom, had activated 2 additional cascades of advanced IR6 centrifuges. These centrifuges can enrich uranium to 90% weapons-grade purity. That's not civilian nuclear energy, that's a nuclear weapon, and Iran just dramatically accelerated the timeline. According to Israeli intelligence assessments leaked to Axios, Iran is now estimated to be within 12 days of producing enough weapons-grade uranium for a single nuclear device. 12 days? Not months, not years. 12 days. Let that sink in. Netanyahu reportedly slammed his fist on the table during the cabinet session and declared that Israel would not wait for the international community to act. Within hours, the Israeli Defense Forces issued what diplomatic sources describe as a 48-hour compliance window communicated through back channels via the Swiss embassy in Tehran. The message was blunt: halt all enrichment above 3.67% immediately. Allow IAEA inspectors unrestricted access to Fordo within 24 hours, or face direct military consequences. Iran's response came not through diplomatic channels, but through state television. IRGC Commander Major General Hossein Salami appeared on Iranian national broadcast and said, "No power on earth will stop the Islamic Republic from exercising its sovereign nuclear rights. Any act of aggression will be met with a response that erases the aggressor from the map of calculation." Translation: we received your deadline. We're ignoring it. And if you attack us, we'll hit you so hard you'll wish you never sent that message. The deadline expired at 6 p.m. Tehran time today. It is now past midnight in Israel. And the Israeli Air Force has gone silent. No public statements, no press briefings, no aircraft movements visible on open-source flight trackers. That silence is more terrifying than any announcement could be, because Israel doesn't warn before it strikes. It goes quiet. Let's talk about what's actually happening right now and why the next 24 hours could reshape the entire Middle East. The Israeli Air Force currently has approximately 50 F-35I Adir stealth fighters operational. These are customized versions of the American F-35A, modified with Israeli-built electronic warfare systems, extended-range fuel configurations, and integration with Israeli-developed standoff munitions, including the Rafael Rox bunker-busting glide bomb. But here's the problem. Fordo isn't a normal target. It's buried under 80 meters of solid granite inside a mountain. The facility was specifically designed by Iranian engineers to survive aerial bombardment. Even America's most powerful conventional bunker buster, the 30,000 lb massive ordnance penetrator, would require multiple direct hits on the exact same impact point to reach the centrifuge halls buried deep inside the mountain. Israel doesn't have the massive ordnance penetrator. Their largest bunker buster is significantly smaller. Military analysts estimate that Israeli munitions could damage the tunnel entrances and ventilation shafts, but cannot reliably destroy the centrifuges themselves, buried deep underground. So either Israel launches strikes knowing they can only delay Iran's program by months rather than destroy it, which means accepting enormous political and military risk for temporary results. Or Israel doesn't strike and watches Iran cross the nuclear threshold within days, which means accepting a nuclear-armed adversary that has repeatedly threatened to destroy the Jewish state. Both scenarios are catastrophic for Israeli national security, and tonight, Netanyahu has to choose between them, and it gets worse. American cooperation is not guaranteed. The Biden-era unconditional support for Israeli military operations has been replaced by Trump's transactional approach. Trump wants a negotiated deal with Iran. He's been publicly stating for weeks that diplomacy is his preferred path. An Israeli strike on Iranian nuclear facilities without explicit American authorization would infuriate the Trump administration and potentially rupture the most important alliance Israel has. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was asked directly about the Israeli ultimatum during a press briefing this afternoon. His response was carefully calibrated. "We support Israel's right to defend itself against existential threats," he said. However, the United States believes that diplomatic solutions remain achievable and preferable. But here's what Rubio didn't say. He didn't say the United States would participate in strikes on Fordo. He didn't say American tanker aircraft would provide aerial refueling for Israeli jets flying the 2,000 kilometers round trip to Iran. He didn't say American electronic warfare assets would suppress Iranian air defenses along the flight corridor. He didn't confirm that American AWACS aircraft would provide airborne command and control support. Without American logistical support, an Israeli strike on Iran becomes exponentially more difficult and dangerous. Israeli F-35s would need to fly over either Jordanian, Saudi, or Iraqi airspace. Each route presents diplomatic complications. Each route exposes Israeli aircraft to detection by Iranian early warning radar systems positioned along the western border. And Iran has been preparing for exactly this scenario for over a decade. Iran's integrated air defense network now includes Russian-supplied S-300 PMU-2 systems positioned around Fordo and the Natanz enrichment facility. These systems can track stealth aircraft at reduced ranges and engage targets at altitudes up to $100,000 ft. Iran has also deployed its domestically produced Bavar 373 system, which Iranian military officials claim has capabilities comparable to the Russian S-400. Additionally, Iran has positioned thousands of short-range ballistic missiles and cruise missiles capable of striking Israeli territory within 12 minutes of launch. If Israel strikes Fordo, Iran's retaliatory options are devastating. Hezbollah in Lebanon maintains an estimated 150,000 rockets and missiles aimed at Israeli cities. Iranian-backed militias in Iraq and Syria can launch attacks on American bases throughout the region, and Iran itself can fire medium-range ballistic missiles directly at Tel Aviv, Haifa, and the Dimona nuclear facility in the Negev desert. Former Mossad Director Tamir Pardo gave a rare interview yesterday in which he warned that striking Iran without American participation would be the most dangerous military operation in Israeli history. "We can damage Fordo," he said, "but the day after we strike, Iran will still have the knowledge and the infrastructure to rebuild, and we will face a retaliatory wave that could overwhelm our defensive systems." Retired IDF General Amos Yadlin, former head of Israeli military intelligence, was even more direct. 12 days is not a timeline that allows for careful deliberation, he said. But rushing into a strike without American partnership could produce consequences far worse than a nuclear Iran. Even American analyst Mark Dubowitz from the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, one of the most hawkish voices on Iran policy in Washington, acknowledged the dilemma. Israel faces an impossible choice between two unacceptable outcomes, he said. Every hour of delay brings Iran closer to the bomb. Every hour of preparation increases the chance of a successful strike. But those two clocks are running in opposite directions. 3 experts, 3 warnings, all pointing to the same conclusion. Israel is being forced into a decision that could trigger the largest military conflict in the Middle East since 1973, and the diplomatic situation offers no escape route. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei issued a statement through his official website tonight calling Israel's ultimatum laughable arrogance from a regime that exists on borrowed time. He reiterated that Iran's nuclear program is entirely peaceful, but added a chilling caveat. If the enemies force our hand, they will discover capabilities they never imagined we possessed. Translation: we're not building a bomb, but if you attack us, you'll find out we're closer than you think, and you won't like what happens next. Trump is trapped in the middle. He spent weeks building diplomatic momentum toward a deal with Iran. His special envoy Brian Hook has been shuttling between Muscat and Geneva, trying to establish the framework for negotiations. An Israeli strike would destroy those diplomatic efforts overnight and force Trump to choose between backing Israel, which means abandoning his deal-making strategy, or condemning Israel, which means alienating his evangelical base and Republican hawks in Congress. Neither choice serves Trump's interests, and Netanyahu knows it. Some intelligence analysts believe Netanyahu is deliberately forcing Trump's hand. By creating a crisis that demands immediate American involvement, Netanyahu eliminates the possibility of a diplomatic deal that Israel views as inadequate. If Trump is forced to choose between diplomacy and alliance loyalty, Netanyahu is betting he'll choose alliance loyalty. It's diplomatic hostage-taking. And tonight, both Trump and Iran are the hostages. So what actually happens at midnight? Scenario 1. Israel launches a limited strike targeting Fordo's tunnel entrances, ventilation systems, and power supply infrastructure. The strike damages, but does not destroy the underground centrifuge halls. Iran retaliates with missile salvos against Israeli military installations. Hezbollah opens a northern front with rocket attacks on Haifa in northern Israel. The region spirals into a multi-front war that draws in American forces stationed across the Middle East. Scenario 2. Israel holds its strike pending emergency consultations with Washington. Trump dispatches Rubio, or National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz to Tel Aviv for face-to-face negotiations. A 72-hour diplomatic window opens, during which the United States pressures Iran to accept emergency IAEA inspections as a confidence-building measure. Iran agrees to inspections, but continues enrichment activities during the review period. The crisis is delayed but not resolved. Scenario 3. Israel launches a cyber attack rather than a kinetic strike. Israeli Unit 8200, the IDF's elite cyber warfare division, deploys a Stuxnet-style weapon targeting Fordo's centrifuge control systems. The attack damages Iran's enrichment capability without triggering a conventional military response. Iran retaliates through proxy attacks and cyber operations, but avoids direct missile strikes against Israeli territory. Each scenario carries enormous risk. None of them solve the underlying problem, and all of them could escalate beyond anyone's ability to control. Today, Israel drew a line. Iran stepped over it. The deadline expired. And now both nations are operating in the most dangerous window of military decision-making since the Cuban Missile Crisis. The silence from the Israeli Air Force tonight isn't calm. It's the silence before something breaks. Every hour that passes without a strike increases the chance of a diplomatic off-ramp. But every hour that passes also brings Iran 60 minutes closer to enough weapons-grade uranium for a nuclear device. Those two realities cannot coexist for much longer. That's not a political disagreement. That's a collision course. And the world is about to find out what happens when a 48-hour deadline expires and neither side is willing to back down. Based on what we know right now, what happens next should concern not just Israel and Iran, but every nation, every market, and every person whose life depends on the Middle East not erupting into the largest regional war in half a century. The clock ran out 6 hours ago, and the silence since then has been deafening.